It's early on my last morning in Factory Bay. Morning routine. Switch on the gas. Kettle on. Prepare the log for the day. Make coffee. Now, engine checks. First thing to do, check transmission oil, check the fuel. It's okay. Quick check the bilge. It's okay. There's the cook. Check the filter. Check the bowl. That's okay. Filter back in the bowl. Open the seacock, check. Fluid, that's okay. Belts, okay. And check the oil. That's okay. Now check the weather. Okay, UK Med Office, so let's say 10 o'clock, that front comes through, 20 knots, what's that at the moment, it's saying 14 knots, but it's full of rubbish. I can hear the wind howling, it's at least 20 knots outside. And check the tides. And finally I can enjoy the sunrise. On my way again. It's pretty rocky.
When you arrive, I'm trying to write the 25-year environment plan.
But I do get a flying escort. Usually I'm not moving fast enough for the dolphins to play.
Oh, so at least somebody recognised what you did there. But I do take your point. But listen, this is...
Still pretty rocky. I'm aiming for what is shown as a wee gap in the Cape Romano shoals. The seas have calmed down a little bit, not much, and winds have dropped a wee bit as well. So that's where I am on the chart plotter. I don't know if you can see that on the iPad. I'm just entering what is shown as kind of 10 feet. And I'm hoping it's accurate, because it's a little nerve-wracking going into shallows. You know, I mean, it's a quarter mile wide, so there's should be plenty of room in theory, but yeah, you never know. I am anchored in just behind Indian Key in the Everglades. I am the only person around I can see. That is more or less southeastish, and that's the way I'm heading tomorrow. Continuing down, I'm going to run down the Everglades and get to a place called Shark River. So today was a tough day. Started off leaving Marcus Island, had to wait for that. Well, I didn't have to wait, but there was 25 knot winds from the south, and I would have been beaten directly into them. So I waited for a front to come through. The front was associated with a bunch of rain as well, so it was a bit uncomfortable for a while. That on the various different forecasts was coming through at different times. In the end, it came through about 10 o'clock, and a little bit later than I'd hoped. I wanted to be going by 10. So I got going, slow drag out, because I was going against the tide in the river, and eventually more or less got out by midday. It was super lumpy. Now I had 25 knots coming behind me, but the seas had all day, the last couple of days, had been from the south, so it was confused seas. So battling through that, it continued to rain, and it was just miserable, bouncy. But I motor sailed. I put the jib up, and I was going, you know, I averaged over 6.5 knots, and that includes crawling out the river at 2 knots. So yeah, I saw 8 knots on the speedo at one point. Yep, and then came through the Cape Romano shoals. There was a gap marked on the charts. A little sketchy. I was a bit worried, but turned out plenty of water. I didn't have less than, I think I had less than 10 feet under me the whole time. And then once I got past those, the seas calmed down nicely, the wind abated a little bit, and yeah, I made nice time, and got in here at 5, just after 5. And so anchored here for the night, and the wind is supposed to swing round and come from the northeast. It's more or less northwest now. It'll swing around and come from the northeast, and then I'll be on a beam reach all the way tomorrow. So hopefully it won't be too, the forecast shows a bit of a kind of land shadow, and not too strong winds reasonably close to the Everglades. Further offshore it's showing 25 knots again. So I'm kind of hoping that I've got a nice, you know, 15 to 20 knot breeze, steady, beam reach, maybe one reef in the main. That would be ideal. And it's about, I think I've got about 30 odd miles to get down to Shark River, and I'll anchor there tomorrow night, and then another 30 odd miles, maybe 40, to get down to Marathon. Alright, so I was at the helm all day. I was autopilot, but I was watching for pots and clinging on most of the day, so I haven't had anything to eat. Now I'm going to go and have my dinner. Another crappy day in southwest Florida, supposedly the land of sunshine and oranges. No oranges growing today, I can tell you that. Yeah, blowing 20, gusting 30 out of the northeast. Wind is about 120, slightly aft of beam. And I'm plugging along at 5 knots more or less. Oops, a little overpowered there. I've got a reef in the main and a reef in the jib, but might need to let a bit more sail out. These gusts have pulled me right up. But not let sail out, bring a bit more sail in. Stop filming back. I'm going to stop filming and get back to the helm. I don't know if you can hear me over the wind. It's grey and cold and blowing 30 knots of wind. Haven't seen the sun in days, it feels. After another miserable day, I eventually reached the shelter of Shark River and dropped the hook, just as glimpses of blue sky started appearing above me. From everything I've heard about the Everglades, I'm sure these mangroves are teeming with saltwater crocodiles and Burmese pythons. Okay, on my way. Just left Shark River this morning. Got an early start, or tried to get an early start before it was light. But I had a hell of a job picking the anchor up. Combination of wind and current meant it was really difficult because the anchor was at an angle. I couldn't get the front of the boat round straight to it, and so that made pulling the chain up was super hard. Anyway, did it inch by inch, and it took me about 20 minutes, but I got it up. Okay, forecast, fairly light winds, 10 to 15 from the southeast, more or less beam on, and gradually I'll head a bit past Cape Sable and then turn left a wee bit, and the winds will be a little bit more in my face, but I still think I can sail. I'm actually motor sailing now because I've got a long way to go, 43 odd nautical miles, and I want to get in before dark as usual. So yeah, it's going to be a long day, but at least for once it's a reasonably nice one so far. I'm navigating my way through the various banks and channels on the outskirts of Marathon. I managed to keep onto my route under sail for a while, and then I couldn't maintain the heading, so then I had to motor sail. Then even motor sailing I couldn't maintain the heading, so I bore away. Now we're going. I'm inside the park and there's buoys again, which is driving me nuts. Spent the whole day dodging pots. So I did pretty well. I had to bear away, and I was sailing as close to the wind as I could. Eventually had to tack, and then tacked again a couple of times to navigate through, no problem. And I got to the point where I had the choice of one channel which leads directly in to where I want to anchor, that goes directly into the wind, and it theoretically saved maybe an hour off the route. So I thought, okay, well, I'll fill the sails and just head down there. So I filled the sails, headed straight down there, and was making absolutely no headway at all on the engine. Bumped up the engine a couple of times, and the same thing happened once before, where basically it gets to 2000 RPM, and it doesn't matter how much more throttle I put on, there's no more revs coming through. Yeah, so I let the sails out again and got underway, chugging along, and then played with the throttle. And I remember what happened before. I think it was from crossing back from Bimini, where I picked up sargassum in the prop, and I remember I had to dive on it and clear it afterwards, and there had been quite a lot of seagrass on the way across, so I figured that's probably what happened. So I put the thing in reverse for a while, and then back and forward, and all good. Yeah, it's always a bit of a shock when you want throttle, when you want engine power and you expect engine power and you don't get engine power, then it's a little nerve-wracking. But in the end, I don't think there's any major problems. That is the hum of traffic exiting Marathon behind me. Going over 7 Mile Bridge, where the sun is setting. Well, that was a long day. I was up at 5, engine checks and all, and ready to go I left at first light. I didn't want to leave before first light because I wanted to see the pots on the way. I probably could have left a little bit earlier because I was in the park for a good couple of hours and there's no pots allowed in there, so that's something to think of next time. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad day. It was, you know, sun, for goodness sake. It's fantastic for a change, and yeah, generally I got some good sailing in. Had to do motor sailing quite a bit because the wind just turned a bit much. You know, maybe I would have been more sensible heading further west and anchoring somewhere, but there's only one place to get through onto the Atlantic side, and that's here, or you got to go basically all the way down to Key West, and that was too far to do it. I'm anchored, I'm in the Keys, so I've made it this far. It's taken me, you know, almost 2 weeks to get here, basically having to start and stop every couple of days with weather fronts coming through and tucking into wee anchorages for a few days, and yeah, so anyway, now I can have my beer. That is what I'm looking for. Slange. I'm bloody knackered.
Now I'm connected again, it's time to close out my float plan with Mike, Monique and my dad, who've been monitoring my progress, and then let the traffic noise lull me to sleep. Tomorrow, I cross into the Atlantic.